being shown. But yes, ma'am. Okay, so a big reason why is because you're missing your star report. It makes a huge difference because star report. The star report is counted as a homework grade, so it's a larger percentage of your grade. Turn in your star report. Correct. Correct. It'll improve your grade greatly. Because I try to pad your score whenever you do your book a quarter. That way your book of quarter is not the only 35% of your grade. That's 35% of your grade, your star report? It's homework. So yes, it would count as a higher percentage of your grade. It counts 10% higher than your classwork grade, okay? So looking at what we have for today, your narrative on your plot charting diagram, okay? That is a great question. This is your only assignment you have for both days. Yes, I usually give you 2 days to work on your plot charting. That's what I want you to do with these two. Okay, does that make sense? Remember when you read the story or read the thing and when you read it, that's when I filled it in because I understood. Well, I'm not going to read it to you, but I am going to discuss it like we always do. Okay. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So the issue is that because he's lost at sea, is what we assume happened, is that very likely he's dead, but they just refer to him as not coming back from sea, so they consider him lost at sea. Now, because the ship never returned. Right, like his ship never returned, so we know that they lost Gil's father. Like that's, he's definitely not coming home. Correct. Gil had a rough upbringing. Okay, Gil had kind of a rough upbringing. I think that's fair to say. Well, we'll talk about that as we go through this. I like where you're going. Let's try to move through this a little bit more orderly, okay? Yes, it's number 27. It's posted for you, okay? So looking at your plot charting diagram about another place, another time. Another place, another time. Looking at Gil, first off, it gives very specific details about what we see as his location, his surroundings, right? It tells you exactly what his surroundings are. All right, it tells you in the first part of the book, or the first part of the story, I apologize. So I'm not going to cover much of the exposition with you. I would definitely include the Limburger children, the housekeeper. They have another gentleman that watches over. I can't suddenly remember his name, Gilbert's father. We don't really know Gilbert's mother, but you can include her. We just don't know much about her except for what happened to her. Okay. So looking at our rising action, there are plenty of conflicts, right? So let's start here. Where do you guys think the climax would happen? Okay, I had a question. Would this be when they were laying underneath the stars or when he died? When who died? At the very end of the story. I don't think there's enough information for following. The dad doesn't die at the end of the story. He dies in the second part of the story. Yeah, really? So, okay, let's think of it this way. If we're not thinking of it right away, let's think of the largest conflict that happens. That'll be a big part. What is the largest conflict in the story? Okay. I think you're on the right track. I think they're both parts. What's that? Why does Gil hate time? Outstanding answer. Oh my God. It is, and think about it, because it goes to what you just said too. It covers both of them. Gil hates time because time has taken away his father and it's taken away his mother. Okay. If you think about Gilbert's problem, he talks about time and space. One, not only as if they're one, but as if they're the largest problem for him. He wants to find a way to navigate and travel through time, right? When's the first time he gets to travel or navigate through time? Yes, the hand car, right? That's the client. Yes. Like a Hot Wheel? No. So a hand car is when they can, and I included a picture. I included a picture for you where they can pump on each side of the car. Okay. He doesn't actually get to travel through time necessarily to that, right? It doesn't bring back memories. What does it allow him to do? What does the hand car allow him?
Go forward and backwards, and then you go sideways like.
At first, he can just go forward and backwards.
And then once
Okay, but we don't know that until we get into the following action of the resolution, right? Okay, I like where you're at. Slow down just 1 second so that it makes sense to everybody. Okay, the hand car is the climax because he's able to now move through time and space independently on his own, right? That's why it's the climax. Does that make sense? So it's the resolution to our main problem. Gil hates time because it takes everything away from him. The hand car gives him the ability to travel through time, in theory, and move on his own independently. Remember when they're on the hand car and he tells the Limburger children, the girl, what's her name? Emmy, right? I am too. That's why I asked. Okay, but he tells Emmy that it's like they're traveling through time. They're going up and down this line, but they can't move side to side, so they're stuck in this one avenue. And he'd like to be able to move side to side. And that's when the twins again go, "What's Sideways in Time?" Oh, you remember Sideways in Time. So Sideways in Time keeps coming up, right? That right there is where we see our climax, is when they start to see that the hand car can let them travel through time. Okay? And it's because it resolves our major conflict. What other conflicts do we see that are not necessarily the main conflict? I think you covered the two biggest ones. He loses his mother and his father. It causes Gilbert to hate time. What else? What other conflicts do we see? It's only one conflict. It's the major part of the story, but it's one conflict. Okay, good. The housekeeper having to deal with how to tell Gilbert about his father, right? Now that's a... It is. Because we're looking through the conflicts. I wanted to set where our climax would be. We'll get to the climax. I'm not going to type anything out for the climax, but we'll talk about it again here in a minute. Yes, that's a great conflict. That's a character versus character conflict, right? They're constantly arguing about time, right? That's the driving motivation behind this argument is Emmy and him fighting about time. What other conflicts do we see? Does the hand car just work on its own? Right, they have to fix up the hand car. So that's part of the conflict as well. That can be a conflict also. What other conflicts do we see? Anything else? I mean, that's actually 4 conflicts now. Do we have enough we think we can roll with? I mean, if you have at least 3 conflicts, make sure they're detailed. We are getting much better with how we're describing those. Make sure we're doing a good job of that, okay? Looking at the climax, you guys had already covered that, the major resolution, I'm sorry, the major resolution, try that again, resolution to the major conflict is the hand car, okay? So you'll want to describe what the hand car does for them.